Hello everyone and welcome back to Callsign Charlie Models. Wanted to do a quick update video today, and then also we're at the end of the video we're going to be adding all the other kits I've previously built on the channel or slightly before the channel to that tier list I've started doing at the end of all the final reviews. I've already done the Caproni and the Jayhawk on the tier list, and we're going to go through and add the rest of the kits to that tier list, and then moving forward we'll just keep on adding on. But for the update of the channel, we're really moving along with the Squirrel Blitz. We're about halfway done with it, and now we're moving on to the kits for the most part that are absolutely massive. So up next I'm concentrating solely on the Seahawk, because that one, while the base for it is going to be rather large and everything, and also I want to keep on going with the 60 line because everything that I've learned from the Jayhawk is still fresh on my mind. So I think that build is going to be a lot better than what the Jayhawk was. And then after that, I am debating between what is next after the Seahawk. It's either going to be the B1B or the B17. The Catalina, I am still waiting on the final production engines from ResKit to come in. We'll see when those come in, hopefully in the near future. So we'll have a three-way voting for which one comes first on the massive builds. That's where we're at right now. The Seahawk, I put the putty and got the masking done today, and tomorrow I'm going to start sanding it. So the build portion of that shouldn't take much longer, or the painting and all that shouldn't take much longer. The long part of that is going to be doing the water base. We're doing the resin water, and that water is going to be about 4 to 5 inches thick because we do have the 1/700 scale kilo submarine to put in it as a force perspective on that. So that's going to take a few days to a week to fully cure, and we're going to have to do it in layers and build up on that. So that's going to take a little while to get done. But when it's all done, getting the top with the rotor wash on, that's going to be a lot of fun to get done as well. So hopefully by the middle of next month, hopefully end of next month, that one will be done, and then we can start concentrating on one of the 3 massive kits. We'll have to see which one's next. All right, so that's all I got for the actual update to the channel. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen with you guys so we can start going through all the tier list models. So I will see you guys in just 1 second. All right, so here we are over at the tier list, and we're going to start over on the right hand side on the column right here. We have all the kits that I've either built previously on the channel or prior to the channel that I still have in the on the shelves right now. So we're going to start off with the Loot Graph 1/32 scale Grumman Duck. Now this kit was a all 3D printed kit. The detail on it was absolutely amazing. Uh, it was pretty fun to build. Did have some issues with it. The packaging in it was absolutely top notch on it. The way that it survived going all the way from Europe to Indiana, and then a drive from Indiana to Colorado, and then a drive back from Colorado to Kentucky, and no broken parts in it from what I recall. The detail in the engine and everything, absolutely amazing. The rivet detail, the interior detail on it, also just absolutely amazing. I did have some fit issues with it, um, but I can't tell if those were on me or on the kit. I'm thinking it was on me and not the kit, but we got that done. And yeah, so I'm thinking that this kit is going to be in a solid B status right here, and then we're going to move on to the B1B from Revell up next. It's something that I am working on right now, and at the end of the build we can move it around depending on how it goes. Now right now with the packaging on it was typical Revell. All the parts were basically in 1 or 2 bags that were just ruffling around in the box. So there's that. And then we had the plastic and the detail. Now, this is a very, very old kit. They haven't done a retool or a new tool to it. So the detail on it is actually kind of bad. It does take a lot of aftermarket, as you see that I'm sinking into the one that I've built. Sorry, it's been on standby for a while, but hopefully here in the near future it's coming back. But the detail on the plastic, I'd say that would probably be like a C, and then everything else, the the construction of it, I can't really give you a good quote on that because I really haven't used very many kit parts. Really, the only thing from the kit are the fuselage parts and the actual cockpit floors. Everything else has been aftermarket, from the bomb bay to the gear bays. Um, the wings, I'm using the wings, but I did some modifications to those for the flaps and slat set. So we have that. And so with just straight out of the box, I'm going to say this is going to be a C. If I was going to incorporate aftermarket, I would say this would be up in the B tier. But with not everybody using aftermarket, or not everybody sinking the astronomical amount of money that it took to get this up to an accurate B, I'm going to have to leave this in the C tier. Now, when it's all said and done, the build portion, it will feel like an A, but again, I think I've spent around $1,200 in just aftermarket alone on this kit just to get it up to par, because the original tooling is for a A model, and the B1B has been out since I think 90 or something like that. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but it's been out for a while. So they've had the chance to do a new tool or do the upgrade to it, but they haven't. They've done a few little sets here and there, but really it doesn't suffice to what is needed out there. So yeah, I'm gonna say this sits in the C model right here. Now we're gonna move on to the Wingnut Wings Felix Stowe. And this kit, this was my first World War One kit, and this was a absolute amazing introduction into Great War aircraft. The wingnut wings, the plastic on it was absolutely amazing. The packing on it was absolutely amazing. The detail, again, amazing. The instructions, just ungodly. Just it was such a great introduction that actually got me hooked onto World War One aircraft. So this one is definitely A, but I'm gonna move this up to God mode because, again, this was just an absolute brilliant kit. It was so fun to build, so fun to paint. The color options on it were absolutely fun. I really had a hard time on deciding which one I was gonna do. All right, so now we're moving on to some submarines. First off, we have the Hobby Boss 1 350th scale Oscar SSGN, the Kursk. These submarines, I like to call them slump busters. They're nice, quick, easy builds, not a lot of parts to them. And the fuselage halves on this kit went together really well. The sail on the top fit really well. All the parts fit really well. And the only aftermarket I used for this was one of the missile bays. I used some 3D printed parts for that, and also the um, screws on the back. Now, the kit, they do come with some photo etch screws or propellers, and that is pretty nice. So again, I'm gonna have to say that this kit, an A, definitely. Like I said, it's a nice, fun, quick, easy build to do. There were no fit issues. I barely had to sand the seam line between the two hull halves. Sorry, I called it a fuselage earlier. It would actually be a hull. Yeah, the seam between the two hull halves, top and bottom, barely required any sanding or putty, and it looks absolutely amazing when it's all said and done. And it is absolutely massive in 1 350th scale. All right, so now we're moving on to the Trumpeter A6E Intruder. I've built the A6E and I've also built the A6A. The detail in the kit, all right, so the detail on it is pretty nice. Uh, for some reason, Trumpeter decided to just puke or vomit rivets all over this thing that are not on the actual aircraft. So this one did take a good amount of work to actually make the rivet count accurate. So that's going to be a knockdown for the detail, but for the rest of it, actually pretty good. So I'm going to say, and the kit it's a good starting point. You add in a little bit of aftermarket, like some ejection seats, some 3D printed decals or photo etch for the cockpit, and I don't remember if I said ejection seats already, but ejection seats, and yeah, it's actually a pretty good kit. You really don't need that stuff, but if you want to put it up to the next level, definitely recommend that stuff. But, and also, with all the trumpeter kits, you get an absolute ton of ordnance that come in it. I still have ordnance that I haven't used in all my boxes from all the trumpeter kits. So I'm gonna say that this is in the A. I almost want to say it's an A plus on it. It was a very fun kit to build. So now we're moving on to the PBY Catalina and from HPH. This kit, all right, as you know, if you've been following on in the videos and the playlist, if you're interested, you can go down to my playlist and see the Catalina build. I have the fuselage all done right now, and the wings, I'm waiting to start on the wings until ResKit sends me the final production engines to get put onto the wings, because the engines, as you saw in my video, those are absolutely astonishing, and the detail on them and everything. I cannot wait to do a final print of them where I have everything print or painted and everything. So back to the HPH kit. So detail wise, it does have a full interior. I mean, you have to redo all the ribbing and everything, and they are all resin cast. So getting everything cut off and put into place is kind of rough. Especially in the areas that you're not going to see any of the detail. And then also, it does have a cascading effect that if you don't get something right on the first time, you're going to have fit issues further on down the road. So that's going to knock it down. The detail is great, but the build portion is a little bit rough, especially with working multi mediums with the resin cast and the fiberglass. Um, excuse me. Uh, Definitely causes some issues, but this thing is going to be massive. It's going to be awesome when it turns out. I'm going to say right now, I'm going to say this is a B. I'm gonna say it's a B, B minus roughly, just because of all the detail that's included. And I'm sure if you are a master builder, like some of the guys that build for HPH, Marek, and some of the other guys. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, but the work that he does, absolutely astonishing, and really looking forward to getting this one done right here. All right, so up next, we have the Trumpeter F-14A Tomcat. Again, much like the A6A Intruder or E Intruder, Trumpeter, they have great starting points. With a little bit of aftermarket thrown into it, you can really send it above to the next level. But straight out of the box, they do make really, really nice kits. And from what I remember, there weren't any real fit issues from the kit. I did use the GT resin intakes, which I mean, absolutely amazing. They take a little bit of work and some modifications to the kit, but when they're all said and done, they really set the kit apart because there is some shape and thickness issues with the actual kit intakes. But if you do the kit intakes, again, you can get away with it. It looks like a Tomcat if you want it to do that. I'm sure there's other shape issues, some minor shape issues. I'm sure like a canopy is off by like half a millimeter or something like that. But I'm a rivet counter, but I'm not an extreme rivet counter, if that makes any sense. So again, I'm going to put this in the A tier. This was a really fun build. I do have the F14B and the D to build as well. So I'm really looking forward to getting into those right there. All right, up next is a armor kit. This is the Trumpeter 116th M1A2 Abrams. This kit, it was one of my first armor kits. I think this was my maybe second armor kit that I built. And the kit, the detail on it was very nice. There were a few accuracy issues with it. Come to find out, one of the guys that is in the club, he was a former tank driver. So luckily, he was able to help me out with doing some corrections on it. And again, this kit was really fun to build. The track system on it, absolutely amazing. And the kit, for the most part, there were some times when I was building the kit where it almost felt like a snap tight kit because the fit was so good. I did end up using some hang long aftermarket sets to really bring it up to a OIF, OEF Abrams with the Tusk armor and some of the turrets and everything on top, the machine gun turrets. But again, a really, really fun build, and I'm looking forward to doing some of the other trumpeter a or armor right here. So again, I think trumpeter is staying right in the A tier right there. So, and again, we're moving on to our next trumpeter kit. If you can tell a little thing is I do like trumpeter kits. So now we have the EA18G Growler. And like all the other trumpeter kits, again, great starting point, great detail to begin with basic detail, and just adding in some aftermarket like the intakes, the exhaust, some 3D printed decals for the cockpit, and some seats. And then the one thing I did have an issue with were the ALQ, the jammers, and also the harm missile that goes on it. Those were a little bit out of shape in my opinion. So I did end up getting some aftermarket ones, and those were really nice to work with. And I think Edward now has a 132nd set for this as well. So again, trumpeter, you're staying in the A class, bud, right there. All right, so now the Academy AH-1Z Zulu. This kit, Academy came out with probably one of the best helicopters I have ever built or seen. The detail in it, straight out of the box, absolutely amazing. The build of it, absolutely phenomenal. I mean, it went together so easy. There were no issues with it, hardly any putty or any sanding needed at all. The way that they have their joins and everything, um, was absolutely, I mean, this was a phenomenal kit. If you haven't gotten one yet, I can't recommend it enough. And I'm hoping that the UH-1Y Venom is on the same scale as this or same par level, because this was an absolute blast to build. The aftermarket I used for this really wasn't much. I got the aftermarket, or one of my buddies, Simone Ply. I sorry if I mispronounced your name. Um, but he did a 3D printed gun set for it where you break down the turret, and the detail inside the turret, the gun turret, absolutely phenomenal. And it's actually won awards at shows. So with this one, I'm going to have to put this one in the God mode because this was such a fun build. The detail on it, the instructions, everything, and the way it just went together, absolutely God mode level. All right, so up next we have the Revell Heinkel HE111P1. This kit, packaging typical Revell, everything crammed into one bag. I will say that the glasswork was separate, and the glasswork was crystal clear, and the fit issues, I don't recall having any real fit issues, anything major like is typical from a Revell kit for the most part. So I'm gonna have to say this is gonna be a B. just because of the packaging on it. I didn't use the decals. I used some aftermarket decals, but I I think it's going to be a B. And with the new border models, HE111s coming out, I'm really looking forward to building one of those and kind of comparing it side by side with this one, because I know the new border models has a lot of more up to date technology in the molding process or in the design process than what the Revell one does. But I want to see what the difference between the two are. All right, up next we have the Tamiya de Havilland Mosquito, the Wooden Wonder, and this kit, again, like the Felixstowe and the AH1Z, this one was so much fun to build. I did add in a little bit of aftermarket with the gun bay, and for both gun bays, the top and the bottom. And then with the engine, I did use a little bit of kit part and a little bit of the Edward Brazen part just to kind of spruce it up a little bit. And again, this one was so fun. Typical of Tamiya. Absolutely great fit, no issues that weren't caused by me. So definitely this one into the God mode right here. Up next, we have the Revell, or not Revell, I'm sorry, Res Kit 132nd F111A, the ejection capsule. This was all 3D printed and also had 3D printed decals and some photo etch on it. And this one was, again, another blast to build. I didn't have any issues with any fit or anything like that. The decals all went down great. And I think this one, again, this one is on the fence between God and A plus. I'm gonna have to stick it down to the A, because I would really like it to be a full 1/32nd scale F111. Now, with that being said, there has been just released a 1/32nd F111 Australian version, the E, I think it is, and you need to have this cockpit, not the A, but the Australian version of the ResKit cockpit to go onto it. And from what I've seen in the Facebook posts, the detail on the full body one does look very nice. I'm gonna have to definitely get one of those for my collection right up here. All right, so now we're moving on to a very old kit. This is the Trumpeter F111G, or not, I'm sorry, F105G Wild Weasel. Now, this is a very, very old kit. The detail on it is very basic. Definitely need to add in like 3D printed decals and stuff like that to the cockpit, because the detail from the kit parts are, you can tell that it's aged, and honestly, it hasn't aged very well. The detail on the actual fuselage rivet and panel line detail is very nice. They do have some accuracy issues with the tail fin, and then also with the ventral fin and all that. The other issues with this kit, and this is a major issue, the intakes to this kit were absolutely atrocious. I am so glad I was able to get the intake covers to cover up that area, because that was horrible. And then on the exhaust area looks all right, but it is littered with ejector pin marks as well. And the other issue to this kit is the aft landing gear. The aft landing gear, a slight breeze would break the landing gear on this kit. It is not strong. It does not give you the warm and fuzzy when it is standing on, because, like I said, a light breeze would blow this thing over and break your landing gear. So this one, I'm gonna have to put this down in the D tier, uh, because of the plastic, the detail, and everything. Actually, no, I'm gonna move this up to the C tier, because I mean, it does build pretty nicely, except for the intake area. But luckily, ResKit does now have the intakes for this. So when I do the F105D, I will definitely be getting those to put onto that kit as well. All right, now we're moving on to another submarine. This is the Hobby Boss 1 350th scale Akula, and much like the Oscar, no issues with this one. It was a nice slump buster. This one only took me like a week to build from start to finish. Again, no issues with that. So putting that one in the A tier. And then we have the other monster of a kit. We have the Border Models 132nd Avro Lancaster. And this kit was actually, it was supposed to be a Wingnut Wings kit, but as you know, Wingnut Wings went belly up, and luckily Border Models was able to get the molds from it and release this kit. And this is the standard Lancaster right here, the Mark 1, Mark 3. And when I built it as a dam buster because when I started the build, there was no dam buster kit out. So I started doing all the conversions for it, got all that done. And as soon as I got the conversion done, guess what Border Models announced? They announced that they were releasing the dam buster version of it. So I have another Lancaster, the Mark 1, Mark 3 kit that I am going to be building again with the as a Mark 1, Mark 3. Going on to the kit. The instructions outstanding. The detail on the kit absolutely outstanding. Um the fit again outstanding. Didn't have any issues with anything. Even though I was using aftermarket parts to do the conversion to the dam buster, I really had no major issues on it. Now, when I build the next one with the Mark 1, Mark 3, I'm really hoping that this one is even easier than the previous one I did. So, with that being said, I think this one definitely deserves to be in God mode. All right, and now we have the Itinerary Tornado GR4. I've built two of these. I've built the GR4, and I also built the one that was an IDS, but I converted it to a GR1. So with the kit, the packaging, much, if I remember correctly, is separate packaging. So packaging was pretty good. Decals, I didn't really use them. The decals I did use, they went down okay. All the other parts, really, no issues. This kit is actually very nice straight out of the box. So really, I'm gonna have to say that this is in the A tier. The instructions, everything, awesome. The one part that I have that was a bad point for me was the aft landing gear, and that's because I used aftermarket landing gear, and it was a special like way that you had to do that to get it to fit in order to paint it separately and all that. So I'm gonna still keep that at an A. And then up next, we have the HK Models B17G, which I am currently working on. And from what I am working on now, all right, so I know that the B17 from HK Models does have some accuracy issues, like some of the windows are just a millimeter or 2 millimeters off. The shape of the nose is a little bit too round versus it's supposed to be flat on the top, that type of stuff. It's okay. It looks like a B17 for the most part. Not really having any issues right now. The fit on it, for the most part, was pretty good this time. Um, I've built a few of these, so I've kind of learned on what to do and how to do it. And then I also use some aftermarket, as you saw in the in part 3 or 4, I think, of the nose section, which absolutely from SBS/Red Fox. I would highly recommend that set because with the nose glazing, you can definitely see all that detail in there. So I'm going to say that this kit right now, prior to completion, because I still have a long way to go on this, I'm going to say that this is going to be in the A tier. We'll have to see at the end if they move around any. But yeah, so there's that. Then we have the Copper State Models Cadron G3, the late one. And again, this kit, it gave me Wingnut Wings feel to the build. It was a lot of fun to build. The fit on it was really, really nice. No issues with any of the fit. The wings and the struts all went down perfectly. The rigging on this, the instructions for the riggings are just like wingnut wings, which made it super easy, even though this thing is an absolute rigging monster. There is a ton of rigging that goes onto this. So, with that being said, and having that wingnut wings feel to it, I think I'm going to put it in the God mode up there as well. All right, another tornado. We've already done this one, so I'm already going to put this one back in the A with that. And then we have the JetMaz P2 V7 Neptune. This was one of the first builds I did on the channel. This kit is an all 3D printed kit, and the detail on it was absolutely amazing. It was jaw dropping on all the detail and the fine rivet detail, the panel lines, the cockpit, the nose section, the landing gear wells, engines, all that just absolutely top notch on all the detail. Where this kit lacked was the glass parts. Some of the glass parts, especially for the nose, it was a rather opaque, so it was kind of hard to see all that detail that you put into the nose. The other issue is with this kit, the nose landing gear. It is very weak. It bends because there is a lot of weight up front. You even have to put even more weight in the sonar dome to counteract it from becoming a tail sitter. So, packaging on it was an absolute A plus 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 plus. The instructions detail on it, all an A. And just like I said, the two weak points with the clear parts and the nose gear, and you could probably fix the nose gear with a brass pin put into it, but I'm going to say that this is a solid A. It's right on the verge of being an A plus with that. And then we have another Tamiya kit, typical of Tamiya. Great kits, fun to build, super easy. The detail on it is actually pretty good. Um, Funny story about that. Where'd it go? All right, there it is. Um, I was building this and I had the Edward engine set for it, and I was starting to build it, the Edward engine, Brazen set for it. And then I started looking at it and I was like, there's not much difference to the two engine sets. So I ended up actually just using the Tamiya engine set and then adding in some lead wire for the spark plug wires and some other detail to it, and it comes out great. So again, another Tamiya kit, shocker. This is in the God mode right there. All right, so we have the Paladin from AFV Club. This one, I this was I had so many issues with this kit. Um, with it, it was almost a flying vehicle multiple times. So I'm gonna have to say this was a C. I don't have good memories of building that one. So definitely putting that as a C. Then we move on to the F-15E Strike Eagle, again from Tamiya. This one really nice. It's a monster of a kit. A lot of ordnance that can come with it. The detail on it. This is actually an older molding, so it is starting to show its age for some of it. So I'm gonna have to say, and plus there were some other fit issues like with the wings that had to take some modification. I actually had to change up the build progress or process of it. So I'm gonna put that one as an A. That one's an A plus, but not quite to God mode yet. All right, and then we're on to our current kit, the SH60 Foxtrot. We've already done the HH60H, and now we have the SH60 Foxtrot. And much like the 60H, we're having the same build issues. The difference between this is the detail. Kitty Hawk got the detail on this kit, on the interior of this kit, completely wrong. They basically put an SH60 Bravo interior onto a SH60 Foxtrot. And a lot of the other exterior detail is also wrong for the 60 Foxtrot. So you really have to pay close attention to your references. Also, the instructions on this kit, absolutely, absolutely horrendous. There's a misprint in the instructions, so it's very hard to follow. There's some mislabelings of parts for the rotor head, all that. So this one right now is going to be going down into the D tier. And the difference between the 60 Foxtrot and the 60H were the instructions right there. That was the major key. That's why it's not in the same one. All right, and then the same thing for the Pavehawk 60. No issues with the instructions. Still had a little bit of issue with the plastic and some warpage and everything. So I'm going to put that one again with the 60H, and that's going to go in the C tier. We've already done the A6E intruder, and the A6A was basically the same thing, only with a few different parts right there. And then the Academy F16i Sufa. This one was a blast to build. Really had a lot of fun with it. The paint scheme, the conformal tanks, everything. I did use some aftermarket to really get it accurate, but the accuracy between the kit parts and the aftermarket was not a large gap between the two. So I'm gonna have to say that this kit was A plus. This is right on the verge of being God mode. Um, I'm trying to think as because even like the aftermarket from Wolfpack, the landing gear, it was a drop in fit. The cockpit for this kit from Wolfpack was a drop in fit. The exhaust area was a drop in fit. So actually, you know what? I'm gonna move that up to God mode because that was just an absolute blast to build. And then lastly, we have the Trumpeter F-18E Super Hornet. And just like the Growler, it was the same thing, same level of detail, everything, just a single seater. So this one is also going to go in the A. So there we go. We have our tiers all done. And moving forward, when we get done with other builds, so now we have all the builds that we are currently working on still in the tier list. So when those are done, we'll reevaluate and see if they move up or down in the tiers. And then moving forward, when we start a new build, we'll probably go with the inbox review video and start that off on whatever we go. And as the build goes, we'll update on where it's standing on. If it's going to stay in that tier, it might move up, might move down. We'll have to see. Maybe it will, and maybe it won't. So yeah, that's all I got. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you are in agreement with everything or if you disagree on anything. If anything should be higher or lower, let me know. So, and that's all I got. If you haven't yet, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the bell button for notifications of when I post future videos. And until next time, I hope you guys have a great day. And I'll see you then. Bye-bye.